Okie dokie. I went into Puss in Boots: The Last Wish with the knowledge that every single person online is raving about how good this movie is. So I was half expecting to be disappointed because of how overhyped my expectations already were. Haha, nope. I love this movie. From its beautiful 3D animation that plays with frame rate to the heartwarming story about what it means to make your wishes come true. But what truly stood out to me is how amazing the villains are in this movie. Goldilocks, Jack Horner, and Death. First of all, I love stories that take already existing tales and retell them in a new, unique way. Alice in Wonderland, Greek mythology, the Seven Deadly Sins. Okay, maybe not the last one. But when it comes to fairy tales, the Shrekverse is probably one of my favorites because of how creative they like to get with these characters. It also helps that since everyone knows these classic children's stories, you really don't need much for that instant connection, so they can focus on more fun stuff, like developing your new version of them. Like, the most we get is a funny little flashback for Jack Horner to remind us of the nursery rhyme. Ah yes, the little boy that's stuck in his farm and pulled out plum. What a good boy am I. We'll talk about Jack later. I want to start with Goldilocks because I'm already in love with how they decided to give her and the three bears this family dynamic. It's adorable, especially when you realize they're an aspiring crime syndicate. So cute how they want to rule the underworld. You just get instantly attached with Goldie and Baby Bear's sibling bickering, and how they keep referencing the iconic line of, "This is too hot, this is too cold, but this is just right." I say villain, but I use that more for the clicks because 2 out of 3 are more like antagonists than villains. Goldie's goal is to chase after the titular last wish, and we don't discover what her wish is until about halfway through the movie. To spoil it, honestly just go watch the movie and come back because there's going to be a few of these, but it shares a big theme with the rest of the movie about how what you want to wish for may already be right in front of you. Goldilocks feels like she doesn't actually fit in as a part of the bear's family, and wants to get a human family, and her character arc is basically having to decide between the grass on the other side or the grass that already loves her. It's such a good recontextualization as we peer past this rough and tough ringleader to see a little girl slowly realizing what a real family is. It's a little cliche, but it's an absolute classic that tugs on those heartstrings. Now, Death is the one that gets talked about the most, maybe a bit too much. It's always the big bad wolf characters that bring the closet phrase running out of their kennels.
Bow.
Sexual tension aside, Death is, well, death.
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm death. Straight up.
The reason he appears is because Puss in Boots is down to the last of his 9 lives, chasing after the wishing star to get back all his one-up mushrooms. But Death believes that Puss is not worthy of continuing to live. Having seen him waste his past 8 lives, he views Puss as a waste of oxygen that might as well be snuffed out early. He's really the driving force for Puss's development because we see this vulnerable side of him that does not laugh in the face of death. He even has panic attacks at the idea of it, which I should say is one of the most genuine depictions of anxiety and fear I've seen in what is basically a children's movie. And while Puss's character arc is phenomenal and another reason on the massive pile of why this is an amazing movie, Death himself feels so much more than just a walking MacGuffin. He's such a menacing being, seemingly able to appear out of thin air with the only warning being the whistle that sends a chill down your spine. He commands such a presence, which he should as the personification of death, but there's also these little touches you discover after the movie that makes him all the more scary, like finding out he was in the crowd during the fight with the giant, or seeing him in the corner of the Puss's death cards, showing how he really was there for every death. How many times can I say death until it starts to get annoying? Never, because death steals every scene he's in. And while I, along with a good majority of Twitter, love Death and would welcome him to eat us up like the Three Little Pigs, my favourite one has to go to Big Jack Horner. Remember how I previously said that 2 out of 3 of these characters were antagonists more than villains? Well, here's the remaining 1/3. Goldilocks is only really after the same goal of the wishing star. If you think about it, Puss is actually the jerk for stealing her plan. And Death is really just doing his job, albeit a little too eager to ferry a certain someone across the river Styx. Jack Horner, however, is just straight up a villain. It's become quite common to make villains sympathetic, because it makes them more memorable as viewers are able to connect to them and go, they're just like me, for real, outside of the usual homicidal tendencies. At least, I hope you're not homicidal. There's nothing wrong with this, some of my favourite villains play this card, but there's just something so satisfying about a villain that is just irredeemable. No way around it. He poaches unicorn horns for his collection, sacrifices a dozen men for his quest for the wishing star, and for some reason keeps putting his thumbs into my bloody pies. Like, just eat them, like a normal fucking person. You are ruining this pie for me. I think Ethical Cricket explains it best.
That was horrible. Your wish is horrible. You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
What took you so long, idiot?
So why do I like this horrible person? Well, as you've probably noticed from the previous scene, he is the funniest character in Puss in Boots. I am a person that loves to laugh, and I will admit I do enjoy some darker comedy. So when I discover a character that basically has the same sense of humor as me, it's a match made in heaven. While death takes your breath away, Jack Horner leaves me gasping for air as tears fall down my face because he's just so unashamedly horrible that you can't help but love him. He even goes out of his way to subvert any expectations for a redemption, feeding us a backstory of how he didn't have an awful childhood that could explain why he acts the way he is, or not being sucked into the eyes of an adorable little papa. It definitely helps that he's voiced by John Mulaney, who's just naturally funny from the way he delivers his lines. The amount of times I watch funny Jack Horner compilations is way too much.
You're not gonna shoot a puppy, are you, Jack?
Yeah, in the face. Why?
But those are the 3 amazing villains, or antagonists, of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This movie has honestly gotten me excited for Shrek 5 because if they use this same animation style, it's going to absolutely explode more than Puss already has. And while I can't wait, I'm always going to fondly think back on these 3 baddies. Thanks for watching. If you want me to be shot by a unicorn horn and explode into a cloud of confetti, let me know in the comments below and tell me your thoughts while you're down there. Like and subscribe for more content, let me know if there's something you'd like me to cover. I like to talk about anything that interests me. That's all I wanted to say. I hope you all have a good rest of your day.